Welcome, curious minds. Have you ever, stopped to think if the really cutting edge of science, the stuff that's totally changing how we see reality, might actually be saying the same things as ancient wisdom people have followed for like thousands of
It's a
years?
fascinating question, right?
Totally. And today we're doing a deep dive right into that intersection, trying to bridge this gap that honestly many people think is just unbridgeable.
Yeah.
This is the deep dive. And our mission today, well, we want to unpack this really thought-provoking book, mainly Einstein Found Buddha Saw by Thanphat Som Suchira,
A remarkable title.
isn't it? And the idea it puts forward is just breathtaking, really. It suggests that some of the biggest, most groundbreaking discoveries from Albert Einstein, I mean, the scientific giant of the 20th century, no question were actually insights the Buddha realized and talked about thousands of years earlier.
Which is a pretty huge claim.
It is. And look, our deep dive today, it isn't about saying one's better than the other or trying to, prove ancient texts with modern science. That's not the goal.
Right. It's more of an exploration.
Exactly. It's a journey. We want to see how modern physics, with all its complicated math, its huge instruments, the experiments, how it seems to be lining up more and more with the direct, kind of intuitive wisdom of Buddhism.
Especially on the big stuff.
Yeah, the really big questions. What is the universe? What is time? What's matter actually made of? And maybe the biggest one, what about the human mind itself?
Uh-huh.
So we'll dig into these surprising parallels, think about what they mean, and maybe, just maybe, figure out what these convergences tell us about reality and, our search for genuine happiness.
Sounds like quite the journey.
Okay, so let's start this off by grounding ourselves with the man who really sparked so much of this modern scientific revolution, Albert Einstein.
Can't really talk about 20th century physics without him.
Exactly. It's been almost a century since his biggest ideas really started to filter through, global thinking, but his name is still just synonymous with genius. Our sources paint him as this universally recognized icon, a key figure who, faced skepticism at first, but ultimately just reshaped how we understand the cosmos. Time magazine even called him Person of the Century.
Right.
But what was it about Einstein? What made him so revolutionary that we're still talking about him, still digging into his ideas 100 years later?
Well, it's a great question because his genius wasn't just, locked away in abstract theories only academics could get. His work, especially the theory of relativity and that famous equation EMC8, it didn't just change how we thought. It fundamentally changed our world.
Like tangibly changed it.
Totally tangibly. I mean, think about it. The whole infrastructure of our modern tech age, what the sources call the third industrial revolution.
Yeah.
After Newton's big impact, it comes straight from Einstein's insights.
Wow.
Examples.
Well, the backbone of how we communicate globally, satellites for internet, for phones,
Yeah.
the lasers and fiber optics, even the basic principles behind the chips in our computers.
Okay, that's huge already. And then you've got precision medical imaging, diagnostic tools,
Oh.
and GPS. Billions use GPS every single day.
Right.
Without Einstein figuring out how mass and energy relate, how space and time are tangled up, these things just wouldn't work. They wouldn't exist.
So he didn't just have new ideas.
No, he laid the actual mathematical and conceptual groundwork for the world we live in right now. It's foundational.
It really is mind-boggling when you trace it back like that. A direct line from one person's thinking to, well, everything around us. From phone chips to finding our way home.
Yeah.
But there's always this other side to scientific discovery, isn't there? Especially with Einstein's story. The same knowledge that gives us all these amazing things, it can also unleash just terrifying, destructive power.
That duality.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's one of the most sobering things about scientific progress.
Yeah.
And it really forced us to ask, what's the point of knowledge if we don't understand it or apply it holistically? Our source material makes this really clear by pointing to the atomic bomb. A direct, devastating result of understanding mass energy equivalence is the Suffragard. That same equation powered amazing tech.
And also unlocked unimaginable destruction.
Exactly. It changed geopolitics forever. It's this stark reminder of the ethical weight that comes with big discoveries.
Did Einstein feel that way?
Oh, profoundly. He was deeply aware of this contradiction. Near the end of his life, apparently burdened by the whole atomic age he helped start, he made this really poignant, almost chilling comment.
What was that?
He suggested that if there was a Fourth World War, it would be fought with sticks and stones.
Wow. That hits hard.
Yeah, it wasn't just a throwaway line. It was this deep reflection on our capacity for self-destruction. like a desperate plea for us to grow up, basically, before science gave us even more powerful ways to wipe ourselves out. He really felt the weight of what he'd helped unleash.
That image. Sticks and stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really drives home the responsibility. And speaking of Einstein's journey, there's that weird thing about his Nobel Prize, right? He got it in 1918, but not for relativity.
Yeah, isn't that strange? He got it for his work on the photoelectric effect, which, while important, isn't what he's most famous for.
So it suggests maybe the scientific world wasn't quite ready for relativity, or they couldn't quite grasp it yet.
That's basically what our sources suggest. It was a mix of things. Some politics within the Nobel Committee, apparently. But a big part was that the scientific establishment just struggled to fully understand and, crucially, prove relativity back then.
So the photoelectric effect was safer.
Kinda, yeah. It was also revolutionary, but it was something you could demonstrate more directly in experiments. Made it a less controversial choice for the committee, perhaps?
Okay, but what does that tell us about Einstein himself, about how he worked?
Well, beyond the politics, I think it really shines a light on a key part of his approach, how much he relied on intuition.
Ah, right, he had that quote.
Exactly. It is not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer. And that's not just about being stubborn, you know? It hints at something deeper, like this almost meditative focus.
Like really immersing himself.
Yeah, this ability to just sit with a problem, visualize it, feel it out, intuit solutions that went beyond just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
It points to a kind of inner knowing, this sustained contemplative focus that was maybe just as important as his raw intellect.
Like it wasn't just calculation.
Exactly. And that reliance on intuition, as we'll see, creates this really fascinating bridge to, well, to ancient wisdom traditions.
That connection is really interesting. Deep focus, intuition leading to breakthroughs, especially thinking about how it might link science and, well, maybe more spiritual ways of knowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's zoom out now, way out. From the individual genius to the biggest picture possible, the cosmos itself. Right. And our sources make this absolutely staggering claim that the Buddha, thousands of years before Western science even had telescopes, described a universe that lines up incredibly well with what we're finding now.
This is pretty mind-bending when you first hear it.
Totally. The Buddhist idea of kasakana, chakrawan, the cosmos, the universe, includes descriptions of these vast cycles, things arising, things ceasing, and they talk about mahakapa, a unit of time being roughly 400,000 million years.
Which sounds eerily familiar.
Doesn't it? It sounds incredibly like our modern understanding of cosmic evolution, especially the Big Bang theory. And the sources point out the Big Bang was only really scientifically confirmed in, 1977?
It really makes you wonder. For the Buddha to articulate these huge cosmic cycles, mirroring the Big Bang's idea of the universe emerging, expanding, maybe eventually collapsing or ceasing millennia before we had any instruments to even hint at it.
Yeah.
It's just astounding.
It suggests a totally different way of seeing, right? A different way to perceive reality.
Exactly. A different lens. And it didn't stop there.
Huh.
The Buddha also talked about countless solar systems, each with many planets, and huge numbers of other universes beyond our own. Basically, a multiverse idea.
Thousands of years ago.
Thousands of years ago. An understanding that was just wildly beyond any possible observation at the time. It's like he had this panoramic view of reality that science is only just starting to glimpse now.
Wow. Absolutely mind-boggling. It just expands what we even think of as knowledge. And it wasn't just about our little corner of space. It was about this infinite reality.
Yeah, the sources get into that with what the Buddha called anantatama, the 3 types of infinite truths.
Right. Tell us about those. They paint an even bigger picture, don't they?
They really do. And they connect surprisingly well with where science is still kind of scratching its head.
Yeah.
So the first is akasa, anantatama, the infinity of space between things.
Not just between stars, but everywhere.
Yeah, even the space within atoms, which we'll get to, it speaks to this fundamental spaciousness in everything. Then there's kakawa anantatama, the infinite number of worlds, suns, moons, stars.
Okay, that's the multiverse idea again.
Exactly. And here's where the parallel gets really strong. Modern astronomy, even with our best telescopes, tells us we can only actually see about 10% of the matter in the universe.
Right. The rest is dark matter, dark energy, stuff we can't detect directly.
Precisely. So the Buddha describing this vast, unseen cosmos full of infinite worlds, it echoes incredibly well with this scientific understanding of a universe that's mostly hidden from us.
Wow. And the third one?
Satanantatama, the infinite number of sentient beings. which suggests just an unbelievable amount of life scattered across all these infinite worlds. It's humbling, really.
It absolutely is.
And the crucial point here is how these insights were apparently gained. Science uses telescopes, math. The Buddha's insights came through a different internal kind of seeing. It suggests reality goes way beyond what our physical senses or tech can pick up.
A powerful point. Different methods, but startlingly similar conclusions about the sheer scale and nature of things. And speaking of big scientific shifts, there was Edwin Hubble in 1929 discovering the universe is expanding.
A huge revelation.
Huge! It even challenged Einstein at first, who thought the universe was static. But, again, our sources say the Buddha described an expanding universe thousands of years earlier. That feels truly prescient.
It really does. Hubble's discovery totally changed cosmology, moved us from static to dynamic, a massive moment in science.
Yet the Buddha had apparently already described it.
Exactly. Long before anyone had even conceived of a telescope, let alone the math to interpret galactic redshifts. It wasn't just a lucky guess. It seems to highlight this profound, almost predictive understanding of cosmic dynamics achieved without any external tools.
Just through this inner vision.
Apparently so. It really makes you question the limits of just looking outward empirically.
Which brings us to this really fascinating bit. If scientists are limited by the speed of light, they're essentially looking at ancient history when they look at distant galaxies.
Because the light took so long to reach us, yeah.
Right. So how could the Buddha have possibly seen these cosmic truths thousands of years ago, beyond instruments, beyond even light speed limitations?
Well, the sources explain it wasn't seeing with eyes. It was seeing the universe in its true reality through adinya, which translates roughly to supernormal powers or abilities and a highly developed jit, or mind.
So accessing cosmic truths through refining the mind itself, not using external tools.
That's the idea. And it challenges our fundamental assumptions about knowledge, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It highlights this massive difference in method, but this weird convergence in the results.
Yeah. And for centuries, Western science mostly just ignored these Buddhist cosmological ideas. Our sources suggest why. The huge emphasis on physical, empirical proof in science. And also, Buddhism doesn't have a creator god, which made it hard for a traditionally monotheistic scientific culture to even know how to engage with it.
Different worldviews entirely.
Completely. The scientific method is all about looking outward, measuring objective evidence. The Buddha's path was about looking inward, an experiential exploration where the mind itself becomes the instrument.
Suggesting maybe there's more than one valid way to get at fundamental truths.
That seems to be the implication. Even Einstein himself, thinking about the universe's sheer scale, admitted the biggest mystery was its comprehensibility. He saw science, at its heart, as a quest for cosmic truth, hinting at something broader, almost spiritual, beyond just collecting data.
Which brings us nicely to another of Einstein's huge contributions, relativity. And wrapped up in that, this really mind-bending idea of the fourth dimension of time. Yeah, before Einstein, time is just... Right, like Newton said. Absolute, uniform, ticking away the same for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein just smashed that idea. He showed time isn't just a background clock, it's an active participant in the universe.
It's not just ticking away uniformly.
No, it's bending and stretching.
It's truly revolutionary how he flipped our common sense Newtonian view. He showed time is relative, not absolute, and its flow changes based on speed and gravity.
Okay, unpack that. How does speed affect time?
So the sources give this great thought experiment. Time dilation. Imagine you travel close to the speed of light. Einstein's math predicts that for every day that passes for you on your spaceship, thousands of years could pass back on Earth.
Whoa, seriously? Has that been proven?
It has. Repeatedly, with incredibly precise atomic clocks on airplanes and satellites. It's a real effect. The energy needed to get close to light speed ramps up exponentially, making it impossible to exceed it, or, importantly, to physically go back in time.
Okay, mind officially blown.
Right. But here's the fascinating twist our sources bring in.
Oh.
The suggestion that the Buddha also knew about time dilation. Not through math, but by directly experiencing or understanding it through vipassana, that deep insight from meditation.
So direct experience revealing something that science needed complex math and experiments for.
That's the parallel being drawn. Calculation versus direct perception, arriving at a similar, very non-intuitive truth about time.
Incredible. It really highlights these two converging paths again. But time isn't just about speed, right? Gravity plays a role too. That brings us to space-time curvature.
Yes, exactly. This is where the fourth dimension of time isn't just abstract, it's woven into the fabric of reality. Massive objects, stars, planets, they don't just pull things, they literally warp the space-time around them.
Like a bowling ball on a trampoline.
Kind of, yeah. And that curvature tells matter and energy how to move, and it affects how time flows. Where gravity is stronger, time actually ticks slower compared to where gravity is weaker.
Is there proof of that too?
Absolutely. The classic example our source mentions is Mercury's orbit. Newtonian physics couldn't quite explain tiny wobbles in its path around the sun, but Einstein's theory, accounting for the sun's massive gravity-warping space-time nearby, predicted Mercury's orbit perfectly.
Wow.
So this fourth dimension of time, it's fundamental. Space and time aren't separate. They're linked in this single, dynamic fabric space-time that shapes everything.
Okay, and here's where the Buddhist parallels get even more, well, wild. While Einstein calculated how speed and gravity affect time, the Buddhists seem to show how the mind could affect the experience of time.
Right, the Akulamala story.
Yeah, tell us about that. The source mentions the Buddha using padaharya, some kind of supernormal power.
That's the traditional account. Akulamala was chasing the Buddha, but couldn't catch him, even though the Buddha seemed to be walking slowly. The Buddha then said, "I have stopped, but you haven't." It's interpreted as demonstrating an ability to influence the perception or flow of time itself.
Suggesting time isn't just external physics?
But something deeply connected to the state of mind, the jit. The Buddhist view, as the sources explain, is that a calm, focused mind, like in deep meditation, jhana can experience time slowing down, almost stopping, while an agitated mind makes time feel like it's racing.
So not just time flies when you're having fun, but something deeper.
Potentially, yes. A profound control over internal reality, maybe even a direct experience of time's fluidity. And interestingly, science isn't totally dismissive of the mind's role.
Oh.
Our sources mention Stephen Hawking's idea of mental time. Our subjective psychological experience of time being distinct from physical time. It shows a recognition, even in modern physics, that consciousness plays a key role in how we perceive and understand time.
So ancient wisdom and modern science may be converging on this idea that consciousness and physical time are more tangled up than we thought.
It certainly seems that way, like consciousness isn't just watching the clock, but somehow interacting with it.
Okay, from the huge scale of cosmos and time, let's zoom way, way down, to the building blocks of everything, the atom.
Right.
For ages, the atom was it, the smallest thing, indivisible, solid, but science kept poking.
And poking, yeah. And what they found completely overturned that idea, echoing that source title.
Yeah.
To complicate the emptiness inside the atom.
Tell us that journey from solid particle to emptiness.
Well, back in the 19th century, yeah, atoms were seen as these tiny solid balls.
Okay.
But then things started changing fast. J.J. Thomson finds the electron in 1897. Rutherford discovers the nucleus in 1906. Niels Bohr comes up with his atomic model in 1913.
So pieces within the atom.
Exactly. It wasn't indivisible.
Yeah.
And then they found even smaller things, protons, neutrons, eventually quarks. But the most astonishing thing they realized through all this was that atoms are almost entirely empty space. The mass is packed into this incredibly tiny nucleus, with electrons whizzing around far away, held by forces, but with vast voids in between.
So matter isn't solid at all.
Not in the way we think. The source really emphasizes this. It shatters our everyday perception. It's like finding out a brick wall is actually made of a few tiny specks floating in a huge empty room.
Wow. And then it gets even weirder with quantum physics, right? The rules for the very small.
Oh, yeah. That's where classical physics just breaks down completely.
Mm.
Our sources mention some of the quantum head-scratchers.
Like particles not having a definite place.
Right. They exist as probabilities until you look. And the very act of observing seems to change the reality, or particles being in multiple states at once. It totally messes with our idea of a solid, predictable world. It suggests reality is much more fluid, uncertain.
Which must have caused some arguments among scientists.
Big time. This is where you get the famous Bohr-Einstein debates. How much of what we see as real is actually shaped by us looking at it?
The observer effect.
Exactly. Bohr, influenced by quantum theory, leaned towards reality being observer-dependent. It isn't fixed until we measure it. But Einstein hated that idea. He insisted on an objective reality existing independently. Famously said, God does not play dice.
So even the giants disagreed on what reality is at that level.
Profoundly. Our source highlights this debate because it shows just how deeply counterintuitive this quantum world is, how much it challenged even the smartest minds trying to grasp an atom that's mostly nothing and behaves so strangely.
Okay, so what does this all mean? An atom that's mostly empty, behaving probabilistically, and this is where the Buddhist parallels come in again, right? Concepts like anatta and sunyata.
Exactly. The parallels are incredibly striking. The scientific discovery of the atom's emptiness and the fleeting probabilistic nature of quantum particles, it resonates almost perfectly with Buddhist ideas of anatta non-self, the lack of any inherent unchanging essence, and sunyata emptiness or voidness.
How so?
Well, Buddhist philosophy teaches that all phenomena, everything we see, feel, think, including solid matter, including ourself, are constantly arising and ceasing. They're impermanent, interdependent, and ultimately empty of any fixed core.
Like the quantum particle.
Precisely. They don't have a solid, independent existence like we think of, say, a billiard ball. It suggests the solidity we experience is largely a mental construction based on rapid processes, not an inherent property of things themselves.
And our senses, our perception, are key to building that illusion of solidity.
Absolutely. Our sources talk about how our senses and brain just interpret signals, light, energy, and construct this seamless, apparently solid world from them.
Like editing reality for us.
In a way, yeah. The source uses that great analogy. Mix blue and yellow light, you get white. Mix blue and yellow paint, you get green. Same inputs, different processing by our perceptions.
So our senses can limit us or even trick us.
They filter reality. So this seemingly solid world isn't necessarily the ultimate truth. Both quantum physics, with its weirdness, and Buddhism, with its focus on impermanence and emptiness, point to something deeper, more dynamic, interconnected, and ultimately empty of fixed substance.
Which makes Einstein's quote, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one," sound incredibly Buddhist, doesn't it?
It really, really does. It challenges us to look past the surface, past what our senses tell us, and question what's actually real.
A huge shift from the atom's illusion to reality's illusion, which kind of forces us to ask, what is science really aiming for? And maybe what is it missing? Which leads us perfectly into this broader convergence between Buddhism and science. And that deeper question Einstein asked about happiness.
The chico went into that happiness into reality.
Right. Let's go back to Einstein's admiration for Buddhism. He called it a cosmic religion that fits with scientific needs. Why?
Well, our sources say it really came down to Buddhism's emphasis on critical thinking and direct experience, like the Kalama Sutta.
Explain that.
It's this foundational Buddhist teaching that basically says, don't believe something just because you heard it, or it's tradition, or it makes logical sense, or even because a respected teacher said it. You have to check it out for yourself. See if it's actually true and beneficial in your own experience.
So it resonated with Einstein the scientist. Verify things yourself.
Exactly. It clicked with someone dedicated to empirical truth, to evidence. It shows that real knowledge, whether scientific or maybe spiritual, grows from questioning and direct experience, not just blind faith.
A shared method, almost, even with different tools.
Yeah, that's a striking parallel. But then there's Einstein's really sharp question, the one you mentioned. Why does applied science work and make life easier, but bring us so little happiness?
That question hits hard.
Doesn't it? It cuts right to the core. So what does that imply? Maybe the big aha moment is realizing that all the external stuff, however amazing, needs something internal to lead to real well-being.
I think that's exactly it. That question highlights this huge paradox of our times. Science has been incredible at understanding and manipulating the external world, matter, energy, tech. It's made life longer, easier, healthier in so many ways.
No question.
But, as Einstein saw, it often doesn't deliver lasting happiness, that deep inner peace. Buddhism, though, pivots inward. It focuses on understanding and purifying the internal world, the mind, emotions, consciousness, where suffering actually arises.
So happiness comes from within, not from external stuff.
That's the core message. External things are impermanent, they change. Lasting happiness, Buddhist wisdom says, comes from dealing with our own minds, ending attachment and suffering. So science gives us comfort, progress. Buddhism offers a path to inner contentment. Maybe we need both.
A holistic approach. And central to that inner path in Buddhism is this idea of the marvel of the mind.
Yeah.
The idea that the mind isn't just passively receiving info, but actively shaping our reality, our experience. Like the Buddha was an inner scientist exploring this internal universe.
It's a really good way to put it. Because the sources explain the mind, isn't seen as a fixed thing, but this constant process of arising and ceasing, Gah! Happening incredibly fast.
Oh,
The
fast.
figure given for consciousness is something like 400,000 million times per second.
Per second. That's
Right.
unimaginable.
Right. It implies our sense of a continuous self, continuous thoughts, feelings. It's all this incredibly rapid-fire construction, not a solid, unchanging thing.
So our self is flickering in and out of existence constantly.
That's the picture painted. And through practices like mindfulness, meditation, samatha vipassana, the idea is you can actually become aware of this process, gain insight into it, and even influence it, affect your perception, emotions, even, as we said, the experience of time.
Which makes the Buddhist insights thousands of years ago seem like a really deep empirical investigation of inner reality.
Exactly. The ultimate inner scientist, mapping the mind with incredible precision.
And this constant arising and ceasing, it also ties into the Buddhist breakdown of existence, the 5 aggregates, Hai, Rav, Kan, Ha.
Yes, perfectly. That framework further pulls apart this illusion of a solid self.
Remind us what they are.
Sure. There's form, rupa, our body. Sensation, vedana, feeling pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Perception, sanya, recognizing things. Mental formation, sasahar, our intentions, thoughts, habits. And consciousness, vinya, basic awareness.
Okay, and the point is?
The crucial point is that none of these are stable or permanent. They're all constantly changing, arising and ceasing, moment by moment. They depend on each other. There's no fixed, unchanging self or soul hiding in there anywhere.
Reinforcing anatta again, non-self.
Absolutely. It hammers home that idea of constant flux.
Yeah.
Tendency for everything, physical or mental, which, let's be honest, goes against our deep-seated desire for permanence.
Right. Totally. We want things to last, especially ourselves.
Right. So it raises that important question. If everything, including ourself, is just this constantly changing flow, where can we possibly find lasting happiness? Trying to find it in something inherently unstable. Well, that's the Buddhist definition of suffering.
And understanding this impermanence, non-self, arising and ceasing, that's the key to the Buddhist path out of suffering.
That's the foundation. Our sources mention the 4 Noble Truths and dependent origination. These aren't just theories. They're presented as the Buddha's direct, experiential insights, paññā, into why we suffer and how to stop.
A practical roadmap.
Exactly. The 4 Noble Truths diagnose the problem, suffering, find its cause, craving attachment rooted in ignorance of non-self, state that cessation is possible, and lay out the path, the eightfold path. Dependent origination shows the whole chain reaction that keeps the cycle going. It's a complete system for understanding reality inside and out and achieving liberation through wisdom.
It's like an inner science with a clear goal, which brings us back to intuition, paññāyān, that wisdom of direct knowing. We noted Einstein relied heavily on intuition.
Yeah, the only real valuable thing is intuition.
Right. And his method, deep, sustained thought, imagination, it sounds a lot like the kind of focus, concentration, and meditation that leads to insight, even if he didn't call it that.
The resonance is really strong there. Einstein's deep dive into problems, visualizing them for years, it mirrors that cultivation of insight. Paññā is defined in our sources as that direct, intuitive grasp of reality you get through deep concentration and mindfulness.
Contrasting with the scientific method.
Well, contrasting with relying only on external observation, experiments, math, which are powerful but can be slow, limited by current tech or theories. The Buddha's insight, his safiññāña, or divine knowledge, is presented as allowing him to directly perceive these truths about the cosmos, time, matter, bypassing centuries of step-by-step science.
A different way of knowing. More immediate, maybe?
Perhaps,
Yeah.
accessing reality directly, without filters.
And this is where it gets almost eerie again. Einstein, the ultimate physicist, echoing this ancient wisdom about non-self and illusion.
Right, that quote, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one.
But he also said something else, didn't he, about being free from self.
Yes, the sources cite him saying something like, humans will truly live only when they live free from self, which is just,
Wow.
it's practically a direct statement of anatta.
It's hard to ignore when the guy who redefined physics sounds like he's channeling core Buddhist teachings.
It really is. His reality is an illusion matches the Buddhist view of perceived reality being a construction. And living free from self is a near-perfect echo of anatta. The idea that clinging to a fixed self is the root of suffering, and freedom comes from letting go of that illusion.
So liberation from ego.
Exactly. For Einstein to reach similar philosophical conclusions, Even if not through the same experiential path as the Buddha, it suggests a universal truth accessible through different doorways. It's a stunning convergence.
And for Buddhists, this path of letting go of understanding non-self leads ultimately to nibbana.
The ultimate goal, yeah.
Our sources describe it as a state of emptiness or voidness that completely transcends time, space, and that constant cycle of arising and ceasing that defines everything else we experience.
Which raises a huge question for us, doesn't it? If nibbana is beyond even arising and ceasing, beyond the most fundamental processes of existence as we know it, what does that even mean? How does that challenge everything we assume about reality?
Is it like, na-na, nothingness?
The sources are clear. It's not annihilation. It's not a physical place you go to. It's described as a state of mind, a state of being, achieved when all the defilements, all the causes of suffering are extinguished through vipassana, through that insight wisdom.
So the end of suffering, true happiness, ultimate reality.
Yes, completely free from conditions, from craving, aversion, delusion. It's the end of the cycles of birth and death. It's transcending phenomenal reality itself, achieved through direct insight and purification of mind. It's like the ultimate destination of that inner exploration.
What an incredible arc we've covered today, seriously. Seeing how Einstein's breakthroughs, relativity, messing with time, quantum physics showing the emptiness in atoms, how they just unexpectedly mirror these ancient Buddhist insights about the cosmos, time, matter, the power of the mind.
It's a powerful narrative. Both paths seem to be digging for the same fundamental truths, just with different shovels, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Different means, different tools, but maybe aiming for the same core understanding of existence.
Seems that way.
So, as science keeps pushing outwards, deeper into space, deeper into the quantum realm, what if it also starts looking inward more seriously, really exploring the inner human, like the Buddha did? What kind of unified understanding might come out of that?
A synthesis, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how radically could that change how we as a species search for real, lasting happiness? It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Could the final frontier for science actually be inside ourselves?
It really flips the script, doesn't it? It challenges us to think bigger about what knowledge even is. Maybe the most powerful tech isn't just external gadgets, but these refined internal states that let us see reality differently.
Like the mind as the ultimate instrument.
Potentially. The Buddha left this incredibly detailed map of the inner world, developed empirically over years of practice. As science gets better tools, maybe for observing brain states or consciousness, who knows? They might just end up confirming these ancient insights.
Leading to a truly joined-up view of reality. Outer world, inner experience, all woven together.
It's a pretty exciting thought, isn't it? What that could mean for human understanding, and maybe even for human flourishing. Well, it's something profound to consider.